La Resortera.
All right, here we are again at another episode of our Pura Vida Perspectives podcast. I'm Sarah Elena. I help people move to Costa Rica, and I have my dear friend here, Jairo.
Hey, Elena, how you doing? How are you?
I'm doing good. How was your week? You look real spiffy and professional today.
Yeah, I was actually coming. I just got from a meeting, and I didn't get time to change, so I just came with my car rental T-shirt to remind everybody that I own Car Rentals Costa Rica and USA, and I'm here to help you whenever you need to rent a car in Costa Rica.
Yep, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I've never met anyone more passionate about renting cars than you.
Thank you.
And yeah, it suits you well.
It was a great meeting. Great things are coming up. You know, I'm always looking out for ways to help my customers out. And there's a new project that comes along with the car rentals that is gonna help more people into moving like family stuff. But well, that will be for another episode.
Yeah, another episode. Well, I know you've had a lot of projects coming up. I know, we've talked about your house. I know you're almost moving in. It's in Grecia, right?
Yeah, in Grecia.
Cool. But you're originally from Alajuela.
Alajuela, yeah.
So why did you move over there to Grecia?
It was a funny story. I got tired of waking up in the morning, stretching up, and I used to live in an apartment in a second floor. And I would get out to like the little balcony that we have, and all I see was roof, cars, dogs, barking, street dogs. And one day I told my wife, I'm like, we should move, like where I can wake up and see the mountains and see the big clouds, and maybe even watch a little sunset or sunrise, something like that. And I found this place in Grecia called Condominio Montezuma. It's big. First of all, it's big, but it's beautiful, so peaceful. When I actually wake up in the morning, like the first thing I move the corner and the first thing I see is the Volcan Poás.
Oh, nice.
And I see all the forest. So it's really, really peaceful. At the end of the day, I'm in an age where I just want to like kind of chill and relax and enjoy my life. And I was in Alajuela being so crowded, missing that kind of being out of the city, but still be in the city. Because it's funny, we've been living in Grecia. I went there to rent first, and then I built my house and in the same condo, and I'm just moving there. But it's funny, we've been living there for 3.5 years, and we still do our groceries in Alajuela. We drive 30 minutes every 15, 20 days to make groceries, and most of the stuff that we buy or we need on daily basis, we get it out of Alajuela. Instead of, Grecia don't have like a PriceMart or like a Walmart or like a Pequeño Mundo or El Rey. So we go to Alajuela and get those stuff.
Yeah, but once every few weeks, you can just go there, spend the time to drive there, but you're not in it. You're not waking up every day,
exactly.
Looking at everyone's roofs,
exactly,
like you were before.
Exactly.
I actually have a lot of people who move to Grecia. When we move people here, Grecia is definitely one of the top areas for sure.
In Facebook, there's a group called Expats Grecia Q&A.
Yep.
Because I assume there's a lot of people that have moved to Grecia.
They do. They choose it for, the nicer weather, that they can still be out of the city, but be close to a lot of the amenities.
Exactly.
So those are kind of some of the things that I wanted to talk about today. I thought we would kind of do a compare and contrast because, these are our perspectives as to why we've chosen to live certain places. As you already know, I've lived in 20 homes in this country.
But how many areas?
A lot. A lot in the South Pacific. Gosh, do I have to list them? Dominical, Platanillo, Dominicalito, Vita, Manuel Antonio Capos, Heredia. So I did live in the Central Valley for a bit.
Really?
I sure did.
I didn't know that.
I did, yeah.
For how long?
Maybe it was about 4 months. So I moved up there before my daughter was born.
Where in Heredia?
In Los Lagos.
Los Lagos. It's close to Heredia.
Next to Guardarí. I walked there by mistake one time. Oh, yeah. I think being pregnant, helped. I was able to waddle my way back out of that neighborhood. And I was like, I don't think I'm supposed to be in here.
But it's funny now that you mentioned this, how you can be okay. For people who don't know, Guarari, it's not a very safe place in Costa Rica. It's kind of ghetto, to put it in words that people can understand. But Los Lagos, it's less than 5 minutes from Guarari, and it's a nice place.
Yeah.
So here, I don't know if it's like that everywhere in every other country, but like you can end up in a bad neighborhood within just walking distance.
Oh, totally. And I did that. So I was actually looking for the Pequeño Mundo. So I was walking to the Pequeño Mundo and I took a wrong turn. And that actually happened to us in Colombia a few weeks ago. So we left the walled area of the city and we're like, oh, I'll just walk to the mall down the street. It's a 7-minute walk. Wow. We crossed a bridge and things changed real quick.
Wow.
And we Ubered back. But I mean, we got to where we were going by, everything was fine. But you're right. Things can definitely change. So yeah, today I want to kind of do like a little compare and contrast. Are you ready?
Yeah, go ahead. Let's share our perspectives.
Okay, so I talk to people a lot about where they should, like where's a good fit for them to live depending on their lifestyle and their habits and things that are important to them.
Well, first of all, remember that this is what Sara is great about. Sara, she is the expert on letting people know, best places where to live, where to come, and where to make their move from the States to Costa Rica.
Well, thank you very much. And the thing is about that question is you can't go to Facebook for that. And I've seen that. People go, where's the best place to live? And then you're going to get 200 different responses because everyone has their own personal preferences on each of these different points that we're going to talk about right now. So point number 1 would be climate. So I want to ask you, how is climate paid? I guess what drew you to Grecia? Was that a factor in what made that decision?
Well, Grecia and Alajuela are very similar because they're pretty hot. When it rains, it rains. When it's hot. It's not really a difference of climate. It was more a difference on, what I wanted to see every morning when I wake up, or what I wanted to see every day before I go to bed, or something like that. Not to see a lot of people. So for me, climate is pretty much the same, but it's not the same climate. Like I'm in Grecia, I'm 20 minutes away from Poas, and Poas can be very cold and it could rain a lot. And it's just a 20-minute difference. And I have friends that prefer to live in Poas, even though it's pretty much the same distance from Poas to Alajuela, but the weather is a little bit more chilly, more cold. My wife couldn't live in Poas because of the weather.
Exactly. It's only 20 minutes away. And, Costa Rica has so many different microclimates. I think it was, over 50? Mm-hmm. I mean, you can literally drive minutes and be in a whole different climate, which I think is interesting. So I guess also the question on the broader scale is why the climate of the Central Valley versus the beach? Because when you said you're hot there, I'm like, hot?
Yeah,
you think that's hot?
No, yeah, exactly.
Like for me, if I'm going to Grecia, I'm bringing my sweatshirt, I'm bringing my socks, I got my jeans, I'm bringing my sweatpants. I went to Sarchi.
Sarchi is colder.
Exactly.
And it's 15 minutes.
It's 15 minutes from Grecia. Mm-hmm. I was freezing up there because it was raining. I'm telling you, I was frozen. So climate. So for me, I've lived in the mountains. I've lived in the beach. I just prefer the beach climate.
Why?
I guess I like being close to the water. It does get uncomfortably hot sometimes, but there's just something that's always drawn me back to the beach. And I've done the mountains many times.
But let me ask you this, and it's funny to me. You mentioned all these places you've been living at. They're all in the southern area. If you ask me, one of my projects for 5 years from now, 10 years from now, is to build a place close to Playa Potrero.
Yeah.
By Flamingo, Guanacaste area. I went to my barber last night, and he just came back from Puerto Viejo. And he was like, Tito, you should get a place in Puerto Viejo. Whenever you get money, buy a land in Puerto Viejo. It should be beautiful to live out there. And to me, Puerto Viejo, it's gorgeous. It's amazing, but only to go and come back. So, again, you've been saying that you've been living in so many places close to the beach, but all are in the Pacific southern area. Why?
Well, so I've traveled all through Potrero. I know that your favorite beach is Playa Penca.
Yes,
you gave me that recommendation when I went up there last. For me, I don't like how it's extra hot and extra dry up there. I prefer the lush, green, like just more of the greenery.
That's true.
So in the South Pacific, I kind of ended up there by chance. I had friends who were here and I just was, all right, sounds good. I didn't research into any of these things on where to live. That's why now I help people try to do that. But there are reasons. For me, Guanacaste is just too hot and dry and flat. I like a little bit more of the mountainous. I love the South Pacific, but then I guess we'll talk about why I ended up moving up to Jaco in a bit. Well, actually, really why I ended up staying in Jaco is I like that it's still really green all year round. It's still by the beach. And I just like the climate. Well, I'm a beach person.
Last time I was at your house, I remember the lapas. Flying by.
Yeah.
And that I told you and your fiance about, how they fly in pairs. For people who don't know, lapas fly in pairs. Why? I don't know. I was just told that. And it's funny because every time I see the lapas flying out, they're always flying in pairs. And what you're saying is true. The southern area, it's more green.
Yeah.
A lot more green because it also rains a lot.
Exactly.
During the rainy season.
Those lapas, so those macaws, I think they mate for life. So that's why they actually fly in pairs. Mm-hmm. So if you see one, I guess, something happened. All right. So that's climate. So that's why I chose. So I just suggest that people really think about your climate. I do talk to some people. They say, nope, no, I don't want to deal with the heat, extreme heat every day. I'd like to be able to go visit the beach and maybe be an hour or two away or 20 or 30 minutes away. There's some areas where that is possible.
Have you ever had customers or clients that wanted to move like to Cartago that is like more, how can I describe Cartago? Cartago is a little bit farther from the city. It can be cold. Have you ever had customers like, even though they're coming maybe from a cold weather, but obviously they're not gonna freeze here. Have you had those type of customers that are not only looking for a beach?
Yeah, I mean, I do have people that are definitely not just looking for a beach because I have people saying I don't want the heat, the humidity. They want the fresher climates. But I've had some people interested in Cartago, but I don't think I have one person who lives over there. I've had people come on their scouting trips. Mm-hmm. I think the challenge in that area, well, I guess we'll be talking about community and culture, is not, I would say the people that I work with, they want to come and integrate and learn Spanish and like be a part of the Costa Rican community, but they also do want to be able to speak English with somebody if possible. Right. And over there, you're just not going to find that many people. Yeah. They're very spread out. So, I mean, a sense of community is really important. So maybe we can go into that point. So town culture and community, that's also a big deciding factor for people. What do you like about the town culture and community in Grecia, and why did you choose that area versus other places, at least for now in your life?
Well, Grecia, it's a very nice community. Like people are willing to help you. Like if you need, just like the old days. And that's why one of the reasons I kind of move out there. In Costa Rica, it's very common. Like if you're out of sugar, you just, hey, knock the door on your neighbor. Hey, neighbor, you got sugar, you got milk, or you got whatever. Grecia is kind of like that. And they have a lot. Grecia is also known for a lot of sports, bringing back the sports to the community. Basketball, soccer, tennis, a lot of sports are being played out there. So you get to engage with people from the community. I know that the Jaco area is like that. When I was in Potrero, I lived in Potrero for about 5-6 months. And there are a lot of people from the States and a lot of Italians and a lot of other, people from other countries that do things for the kids, for the Potrero community. And their kids get involved with the Costa Rican kids. And at the end of the day, like, for example, your daughter, she speaks fluent Spanish and fluent English. And I bet she helps other kids to improve their English. And in Potrero, I remember that these kids will help the Costa Rican kids with their English, and the Spanish kid, the Costa Rican kids will help the English kids with their Spanish.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I like a town culture and community that definitely has a big mix. Mm-hmm. So although, let's say the Jaco area, I live 15 minutes south, although it's very touristy, there's a lot of Costa Ricans who live there. So maybe some other beach towns have gotten too expensive, or some people have, maybe not as many do. But I feel in that area, it has a ton of Costa Ricans. I feel like there's a pretty good mix between everybody, between people who live there full time, other tourists who are coming through. I like a community that has a little bit of things going on. There's lots of opportunities to volunteer. I mean, there's just a lot going on. And I think that's, at least where I'm at in my life, that's kind of fun to have around. And yeah, that's what I like about it.
Nice.
All right. So another determining factor where some people might live would be cost of living.
That's kind of complicated because, for example, Grecia, where I live, it wasn't that expensive. But they're building a zona franca in Grecia now. So a zona franca, for people that don't know or not from Costa Rica, is this huge part where they'll just put companies for manufacturing or for building chips or call centers or whatever that come from the States, from India, from whatever. Let's put it in the zona franca. And the value of the rents or the houses, they just go up, up, up. So it's more expensive to live close to a zona franca. For example, I used to live in Alajuela in El Coyol. El Coyol has a zona franca nearby. And 2 apartment rent will be more than $500, almost $600. 2 bedroom. And let's say, I don't know, out in Hermosa, how much can a 2 bedroom be?
$1,200, $1,500 because the beach.
Because of the beach.
The beach, yeah.
Exactly. But if you move to Poas, that we mentioned before, 20 minutes from Grecia, a two bedroom could be what, $400, something like that. So it is more expensive according to what you have nearby.
Yeah. So I always tell people just, you got to evaluate your budget. How much do you want to allocate to rent? Because that's going to be one of your bigger items. Food. So basically the beach areas are known to be more expensive, but you can find some more rural areas by the beach or again, live a little bit further, teeny bit further out.
Yeah.
And prices can get better.
Like Quebrada Ganado. It's 15 minutes from Jaco, but on the other area, you just don't have the beach so close like you have it in Hermosa.
Exactly. Or even Hermosa, Quebrada Amarilla, just a little bit further south. Yeah. You can have cheaper rents there. But no, cost of living. I mean, that's one that I always tell people to consider is you really need to make sure that the area is a good match to your budget.
Well, one time I do remember that you told me that from people that wants to come to Costa Rica and they're not like completely sure where to live, that you recommend them like live 3 months here, 3 months there, 6 months here, 6 months there?
Yeah, I've definitely done that at times when they're really that undecided. And they just, if they're willing to, they'll probably have to spend a little more to do that just because you're doing shorter rental terms. But I think and I think 3 months is a good chance for you to get settled in somewhere and like really get to know an area versus just 1 month. It's like once you get there, it almost feels like you're already moving to the next place. Yeah. So 3 months, I mean, that's always, I don't think there's any right or wrong way to do it. So if someone's very undecided, I would suggest that as well.
All right.
Okay, so distance to medical. So I know where you are, you got pretty good access and distance to medical, but other areas of the country, not so much. Was that like a factor in your decision too, or does that give you some peace of mind?
Yeah, for example, I pay for private medical. In Costa Rica, we have La Caja Costarricense de Seguro Social, that it's a great, healthy provider for Costa Ricans. They have hospitales almost nearby every place. Like, God forbid that, if I have like an emergency, like 911 situation, I'll definitely go to the Hospital de Grecia, and they'll probably, if it's something like really bad, they'll move me to Hospital de Alajuela or Hospital here in San Jose. But, like for minor things or like not critical situations, most of the time I drive over to San Jose, drive to El Cima or drive to La Clínica Católica. So I'm still 45 minutes away from these type of places. But I know in Guanacaste, they now have a lot of private medical institutions. I don't know if in Jaco they have one big one. Or
that's the thing. So, depending on where you live, I always tell people, think about, that's how I help people narrow it down too. I'll say, how long driving distance do you want to be to a major private or public hospital? And I'll often explain the differences between the two.
They have a hospital in Jaco, right?
No.
They don't?
We don't have a hospital.
It has to be Punta Arenas.
Punta Arenas, or you can go south to Quepos. So it's about an hour north to Punta Arenas or hour south to Quepos.
Okay.
Or if you can get to, if you can come into San Jose to get to SEMA.
Yeah, like I was making the example. If it's not critical, you can make the drive. But what if it's critical?
If it's critical, so let's see. This could also be for future episode. But I did have one client. We do have a 24/7 clinic in Jaco.
Right.
And I had a client, she cut her toe, went to the clinic at like 10:30. He said, okay, we can transport you in the ambulance to take you to Punta Arenas. He's like, because they'll be able to stitch you up better there. They have the better equipment. And I said, okay, is she going to be there all night? He was like, yep. So I said, okay, how about you just call a taxi, go to SEMA. You have insurance. So I also have insurance, like the
private one.
More of it. Yeah, I have a private insurance and I pay into the Caja. So, I mean, that would be my emergency backup plan. But, Jaco does also have an urgent care. So I guess if something, did happen, you could, if you have the right insurance, you could get a private transport, or ambulance to a hospital. But that's something really to consider. That I do work with a lot of people that don't want to, they have health conditions or they don't want to be more than 2 hours from a hospital, like a major hospital, or more than an hour. And that makes total sense. So I would really consider that too.
That's why I mentioned, I pay La Caja too. And La Caja is this public health system. And they usually have advice all over the places, but major hospitals, too. I didn't really thought of it that in Jaco they didn't have. They should.
I know they absolutely should, but we don't. We don't have one.
Wow.
Hopefully one day it'd be good. Fingers crossed. All right, another one, I guess. Distance to amenities, which I guess could be the hospitals, the airport, distance to things that someone would consider amenities.
Well, for example, like I mentioned before, I wanted to move at some point in my life to Playa Potrero. And the good thing of me making that decision is that in Liberia, now they have everything. Liberia, they have the airport, they have PriceMart, they have Walmart, they have Pequeño Mundo, they have El Rey. They have the most amenities that I visit when I need to buy something. So I can just go grab my groceries, and instead of driving 30 minutes like I do now from Grecia to Alajuela, it will be an hour drive from Playa Potrero to Liberia.
Exactly. And so, I was in the southern zone, and I've moved to Jaco to work on a project, but I really did also stay in the Central Pacific because I really have been kind of spoiled now with the distance I am to San Jose to come here and do this podcast with you. I can go there and back in one day. To go to Pequeño Mundo, the PriceMart, whatever I've needed to do. I can say I've gotten a little cushy with the distance to amenities, and I'm happy about it now. So definitely someone should consider that too. What does the person even consider as amenities? Some people don't need those things, and that's fine. But if so, how far do you actually want to be from them?
Yeah.
All right, last point. Well, gosh, maybe we already went through all the point. A transportation option. So I always do tell people to think about, if you're not going to have a car, don't live in certain places.
And I'm going to take a minute here because this is kind of my specialty. And not because I want you to rent a car. And I tell so many people, with my car rental business here, I'm here to kind of guide you or help you out. Number one, not to get scammed. And number two, to move in a better way. Because people say, hey, I'm going to Tamarindo. I don't need a car. You do need a car. And let me explain you why. You're out there in Tamarindo and you got all the amenities. You got restaurants, you got a beach, you got clubs, you got surfing. You got everything. But if you're going to Tamarindo for a week, are you only going to visit one beach when you have so many beaches around you? How are you going to move? How are you going to go to Playa Flamingo? How are you going to go to Playa Avellanas? How are you going to go to Playa Brasilito, to Playa Piratas? You know how much will a local taxi will charge you to move you from point A to point B?
It's expensive. And
then if you're in a beach, let's say Playa Avellanas, that is 40 minutes from Tamarindo, how are you going to get back to Tamarindo?
Exactly.
So that's when you need to rent a car.
Yeah.
So you can move at your own. And you will save money. People think that, no, if I rent a car, I don't know, let's say in low, high season, a car, $700 a week. No, $700 is too expensive. I'd rather, pay tax or whatever, a taxi or whatever. And it ends up being so much money that they spend on rides, on taxis. And another example, if you are in Playa Potrero or if you are in Dominican and you want to get groceries and you're up in the hill.
Oh, yeah.
Or you want to get a pizza. If you're in La Fortuna and you want to, eat, how are you going to go to downtown La Fortuna at 9 p.m.? You need to rent a car. Public transportation in Costa Rica is not good. In San Jose, in Alajuela, in Heredia, in the main cities, yeah. I mean, buses run by every 5 minutes. But how are you going to move on the areas that are not near the city?
Yeah. I mean, I would just think of it in your mind that most areas outside of the city are going to be a lot more rural. And I know people think, I'll just call an Uber. So around here, there's Uber. Around Jaco has Uber. See, Jaco is a good place to live without a car because you have
But if
Uber.
you live downtown
you can
Jaco.
walk. Only if you're in town. So like
Exactly.
when I've worked with people, let's say if they say they just are not going to have a car for whatever reason, I always say, okay, we need to put you in an area where it's going to be easy. It's walkable. You can walk to what you need and you understand the transportation.
Let's say where you
things
live
that's
right
there.
now. And let's say you didn't have a car.
That's tough. Yeah, no, I wouldn't be able to do that.
Exactly. And you wanted to bring Ksenia to school. You wouldn't be able, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, even if my car's been at the mechanic for a day or two, it's a struggle. It's I gotta, oh man, now I gotta manage my whole week around it because where I live, you really should have a car. Well, if you're a single person on your own and you're cool with your bicycle, great. But I'm not,
Exactly.
I'm not going to be riding around Ksenia on a bicycle everywhere.
So at the end of the day, it's if you're living here, find a place where you can either walk through whatever you need to do or have a car because, it will be the only way. If you're visiting, always, always, always rent a car. Make sure who you're working with. I mean, number one option, Car Rentals Costa Rica and USA. But if not, and you decide to go with any other company, just make sure that you're getting, exactly what you're being offered out there. Don't let people get advantage of you. But yeah, definitely going back to what we were talking about, transportation for different places in Costa Rica can be complicated and tough.
Yeah. And it's a big factor that you have to include when you're thinking about where to live. So again, we kind of talked about climate, the cost of living, distance to medical, distance to the airport, distance to amenities, your transportation options, your town culture and community. Those are all things that if you're thinking about where you want to live or maybe even where you want to go on your trip just to travel and have fun, think about all of those things because it's just think of them ahead of time so that you're not here, you're not surprised. You make sure you have a good experience for yourself.
At the end of the day, you have to try to have a pura vida time.
Yeah.
And enjoy Costa Rica as much as you can.
Absolutely. Well.
All right. Thank you for one more week of Pura Vida Perspectives. Like always, I can't believe 28 minutes went by already.
I know. It went by fast. This is a good topic, though, because it's really important. And I appreciate y'all listening and joining us. And we will see you on the next episode.
Pura Vida. Have a great day, time, night, whatever time you're listening to. Pura Vida. Hasta luego.
Esto fue una producción de La Resortera.